I'll be honest, of all the things you do and all the companies you run, I think it's all awesome. The one thing that does concern me, and I know concerns a lot of people out there, so I do have to bring it up, which is NeuraLink.
Sure.
So firstly, can you explain what NeuraLink is and what the goal of it is?
We put a chip in your brain to control your mind. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Concerns not alleviated.
Yeah, there you go. Jump right in. Step right up. Who wants one? No, so NeuraLink, you'll be able to see NeuraLink coming from a very long distance, because any device that you implant in a human you have to go through so many tests. It moves very slowly. You just do a few people at a time, and then you go to extreme lengths to prove safety. You have to go through the FDA approvals. Like, we're not trying to sidestep any regulatory approvals. We're doing everything by the book, and with maximum. We're going far beyond what the requirements are of the FDA from a safety standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And the initial devices will really just be pretty basic. It'll be about restoring functionality to people who've lost their connection between their brain and their body. So you can imagine, like, if, say, Stephen Hawking could talk or communicate as fast as somebody with a fully functioning body.
Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing. So that's like what we're trying to do. That's our first application, is to restore functionality to quadriplegics, tetraplegics, and people who have just, for whatever reason, no longer have a connection between, or have a limited connection between their brain and their body.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second application would be restoration of eyesight. So if somebody's gone completely blind, maybe even just lost the optic nerve, you can actually still directly stimulate the neurons in the visual part of the cortex. So you can give direct vision to the brain.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you could actually, depending upon what cameras you use, you could actually see in different wavelengths.
Okay.
Like Geordie LaForge from, like, you could like have that, like, I actually watched like an episode of Star Trek Next Generation with special effects compared to what we're used to, are like, not that great, but he's got like the wraparound, glasses, and he can see in different wavelengths. So you can see like ultraviolet, infrared, and that kind of thing. So you can actually do that. You could say, like, you could see in radar if you want.
Mm. And what's the long term goal for it? Because I think myself and others, I think the first part sounds fine. Sounds good.
That's like hard to argue with.
Yeah. But long term, I think the concern that people have is this just leading us into this dystopian transhumanist future? Where does it go? What are the ethical boundaries of it?
Well, I mean, the thing I wanted to emphasize is that it's not going to, like, sort of pounce on us overnight.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see it coming. It's going to be very slow. In fact, I really think that artificial general intelligence, or digital superintelligence, is likely to arrive before we have really advanced neural links. At least that's where the trend is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but ultimately, the idea would be to achieve a symbiosis between our biological mind and our kind of digital mind. So we're already kind of a cyborg if you think of, like, your phone and your computers as an extension of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like, if you leave your phone behind, it's like you have missing limb syndrome. You're like, where did it go? So the phone is a kind of an extension of ourselves, like computer is. The various applications that we use are already an extension of ourselves. So we are already a cyborg. It's just that the interface is with our eyes and our fingers.
Yeah.
And that interface, especially output, the rate at which we can type words into a phone or a computer, it's very slow. Our input is much better because with the data rate from vision is, I don't know, many thousands of times, maybe a million times better than the rate at which we can output. So input is like maybe, I don't know, roughly a million times better than output. And so what a NeuraLink device can do is improve that bandwidth, allow you to be sort of much more symbiotic with the AI extension of yourself. So you can think of like a human brain really could be arguably divided into two parts. One is kind of like the primitive brain, the reptile brain, it's sometimes called. It's like a sort of basic instincts, and then we've got the cortex, like the higher level thinking, planning, and that kind of thing. But the two operate symbiotically. So I haven't yet met anyone who wants to delete their limbic system or delete their cortex. Everyone's quite happy having both.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I like it the way it is, But your cortex is way smarter than your limbic system. But the irony is that even though the cortex is way smarter than the limbic system, most of what it's doing is trying to make the limbic system happy. It's like limbic system's hungry. Okay, let's get some food. The limbic system is horny. Okay, let's have sex or whatever. I mean, the sheer amount of effort the cortexes of all the humans have put into trying to get laid is insane.
It's got to keep the species going.
Yeah, but not even if it's not for procreation. Like the limbic system is really like too simple to understand that like sex does not result in procreation, because for almost all of human existence that it did. Birth control is a very recent thing. So the limbic system is like trying to incent procreation, and but now we can effectively hack the limbic system by doing procreation, by having sex without procreation. So, which is, I guess, maybe part of the issue with why do we have more kids? Is like in the past it would just happen because in order to make your limbic system happy, you'd have sex. You didn't have birth control, so if you'd pop out some kids.
Yes.
So that's how it used to be. So even though you've got a cortex that's way smarter than the limbic system, the cortex is still basically just trying to make the limbic system happy. And then if you think of like the computers as a sort of a third layer, the AI is a third layer. It's not necessarily the case that the AI would be acting contrary to our interests. I think if it's closely linked with our biological intelligence, I think it could actually be just simply, again, trying to make the cortex happy, which is trying to make the limbic system happy. So I think we'll put even more computing power into trying to get laid, basically. Now the AI is going to help you get laid.
I think what it is that concerns people about it, number one being new, but I think the main thing is the fact that this is something that's like inside your body, right? I think the idea of putting a chip in, the idea of someone putting a chip in my brain, I just have I have a visceral no, right? Like I have a very visceral reaction.
It's an optional thing. I mean, we're not going to.
Would it be though long term?
I mean, I hope so. I think it should be optional.
Yeah,
it'd be bizarre if it was not. No, I think it's
kind of like how. The reason I ask is because smartphones right now are sort of optional, but if you don't have a smartphone, the way everything is sort of designed around society, you can not have a smartphone, but it's a massive hindrance and disadvantage in many ways.
True. A smartphone is almost essential in a modern society to do things.
Yeah. So could a NeuraLink end up in that same sort of place?
It's possible, but I'm just saying, if it does, it's many decades from now. So it's not like, it's not today's problem.
Yeah.
I'd worry a bit more about digital superintelligence. I'd worry about, let's try to avoid World War III.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we're at least having enough kids to sustain our population. Basic stuff like that.
Yeah. What's your greatest concern with artificial intelligence? Because I know that you have worked with it, but also I know it's something that you personally have massive concerns about as well, which you've voiced in this podcast and elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that actually the most likely outcome for artificial intelligence is that it is good, that it will improve our lives, most likely. But there's some chance that it will not, and I think we just need to be cognizant of that and understand it. It's a powerful technology. It's a double-edged sword. And we need to put a lot of effort into ensuring that we have a good AI outcome and not a bad one.
What does a good one look like?
Well, I'd recommend people read the Ian Banks books, the culture books. That's the best representation of a positive AI human future that I've seen.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation. I mean, effectively AI, I think it will massively enhance human ability. It's like just a massive amplifier of human ability, just like the computer was. So really, it's just a question of like, does it? There's some risk that it doesn't merely amplify human activity, but it starts basically just being in charge.
Yeah.
And there's some risk it may view humanity negatively and decide that we're a blight on the earth. Like I think like a very dangerous thing would be if the sort of human extinctionist philosophy somehow got into AI, that would be bad. Like that guy that was on the front page of the New York Times saying, the 8 billion people on Earth.
We don't want him coding it.
We don't want him coding it. Yeah. Safe to say. There's quite a few people in this neck of the woods who have that either explicit or implicit extinctionist view.
Yes.
Where they view humanity as a blight on the face of the earth.
Yeah, there's a lot of antinatalists in the world, and people who
frankly anti-human.
Yes. Like you said, people who don't have the pride in being human, right? There's people who
they feel like guilty or something.
People who even say that that's a speciesism. That's
yeah.
I mean, I'm a human supremacist. I'll be open about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to fight for Team Human. Like, if we don't fight for it as humans, who will?
Yeah, I mean, if the Earth exists and humans do not, then it's like we're saving the planet for who at that point?
Yeah.
What do you think about AI replacing jobs, though? Because that's a big concern. Even if AI doesn't sort of go rogue and start doing something directly horrible, I think a lot of people's concerns is just, hey, what about everyone's jobs?
AI will certainly be very disruptive because jobs will be different. So no, I think the change caused by AI is going to be pretty radical. So there will, a lot of jobs that currently exist won't exist in the future. But I think there will be new jobs. And I do think, like in a benign AI scenario, we will really have an age of abundance. I think really goods and services, unless they're artificially made scarce, like it's specialized artwork, or you want that particular house in that neighborhood, like it has to be an artificial scarcity. But anything that is not made artificially scarce will be plentiful, as in a benign AI scenario. You'll be able to have any products and services you want.
Mm-hmm. That
anyone will.
Does that not start to cause a whole new level of problems?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's like if, there's some things which sound like a blessing, but may in fact be a curse.
Yeah.
Like I think you will live forever. It sounds like a blessing. It's actually a curse. You would not want to live forever. You don't know how long forever is. And if you say another potential curse is you can have anything you want effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure you want that?
Yeah.
Does anything matter at that point?
Yeah. And what about the value? I mean, I think a lot of the value of work isn't just getting money to buy things. It's the meaning, it's the purpose, it's knowing that you worked for this thing, right? It's different. Yeah. It's different to get $10 million because someone just gave you $10 million or you won a lottery versus you created a business and sold products and services that helped you to earn that money.
Exactly. So it's like, how do we find meaning and relevance?
Yeah.
If you have an age of abundance where the computer, you just ask for anything and get it, it is something we'll have to struggle with. That'll be, I don't know. I think that's kind of most likely where we're headed, is an age of abundance. But it will definitely cause some existential angst.
What are you most optimistic about?
In fact, if I should say, for a NeuraLink device, I mean, part of what I'm hoping is here in a benign AI scenario, like how do we even go along for the ride? How do we even understand the AI.
Okay.
Like if you've got some sort of, incredible intelligence, unless we do sort of effectively have better symbiosis, increase the bandwidth to the AI extension of ourselves, effectively augment our human intelligence substantially, we may not even be able to appreciate the wonders that will exist in the future.